Spencer Lazara reporting for MMA Interviews. I'm here at Blackhouse alongside TUF 17 cast member Mr. Kevin Casey, a Gracie black belt. So, fresh off the show here, you got to see the premiere. What are your quick thoughts, I guess, just off the bat?
You know, first and foremost, it was definitely an honor and a pleasure to participate in TUF 17. And, you know, being there and being a part of the production and seeing the inner workings of how they put things together, I was very impressed with the production value, you know, the way they put things together and showing the fighters and all of us with our families and just kind of how they're portraying us, you know, this season as opposed to the previous seasons.
You've put in so much work over time. Was it nice to kind of get, you know, a little recognition now and be on that big stage?
Definitely, you know, for every fighter in my position, you know, coming up the ladder and you know, trying to really make your name, you know, to the general public. You know, TUF is the top of the food chain. So to finally, you know, make it there and to, you know, get past that first win and get into the house and be able to be recognized by Dana White and, you know, top level competitors like John Jones and Chael Sonnen, you know, it definitely was an exciting experience.
Before we get started on the premiere, just talk about yourself, your background, you know, obviously Hawks and Gracie, current info, you know, I know you were teaching now as well.
Yes, you know, I'm a black belt under the Gracie system, and you know, I've trained for many years under Hicks and Gracie, as well as a lot of the other Gracie family members, and you know, that's my foundation. But the past, I would say, about two and a half years, I've also been training, you know, a lot with the Muay Thai with Professor Rafael Cordero. No, Master Cordero, and a lot of other guys, and I feel like I'm in a unique position right now as far as getting the exposure from the TUF and also being, you know, a signed athlete under the Blackhouse management.
Yeah, obviously a great team here. Talk about training here alongside some of the world's best. I know you're about to get a little work in with Machida here shortly, right?
Yes, you know, I've been able to be involved in Machida's camp and getting some help and also helping out a little bit. You know, Glover Teixeira has a fight coming up with Rampage, and you know, I've been able to jump in some of the training sessions and, you know, get some skills and some tips and also, you know, extend some of my experience as well.
Definitely at the end, we're going to talk a little bit, close it out with a little talk about UFC on Fox. What were the thoughts of the production level? I know you briefly talked about it, but man, this is already shaping up not only with the fights were awesome, but the production value has just increased dramatically, you know, for this season.
I believe they brought in the same people who produced the 24/7 series, and you know, they told us that it was going to be bigger and better than anything we've seen before, and they produced. You know, so it was great to see it, and it was, you know, amazing to be a part of it, and I'm excited to see the rest of the season.
So your fight was, you know, we only got to see highlights of it last night, unfortunately. I was hoping to see the whole thing, but I guess the upside is you get to break the entire fight down and tell us what we missed. I know you got a cut, so talk about the cut and working through that as well.
You know, in the first fight, we got matched up. You know, the only thing we had to go off was how our opponent looked. You know, he looked like he could be a striker. He looked like he could be a grappler, but I had no idea what to expect going into the ring. So, you know, when I went out there, I expected to have an exchange with the striking, but he threw a good body kick immediately, and it made the clinch available. So, you know, I really wanted to showcase some of the hands, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to, you know, close the distance and take the fight to the ground. So, you know, at that point, it became pretty much a one-sided situation there. You know, I kept the pressure on him. I took him down a couple times, threw some ground and pounds, and I think about mid-first round, from the bottom, he threw an elbow. You know, and I really didn't think that he had the range to throw anything effective from there, but he caught me with a good elbow, and you know, immediately it opened a cut over the left eye, and you know, it didn't really stop my performance, but I knew right away that this was an issue for me. Yeah. You know, so you know, it kind of played a lot mentally in the rest of the fight, and I was happy to get the early finish with the choke.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him trying to, like, trade punches with you when you're in a dominant position. I'm like, well, this is all bad for him. You know, you got to defend yourself when you're on bottom of a guy of your stature. But he was able to somehow cut you. I mean, and that was pretty surprising, I thought.
Yeah, he did a great job. You know, he was a very, very tough fighter. and I give a lot of respect to him. And he fought hard from the beginning to the end of the fight. And you know, although I finished the fight in the first round, he was a very, very tough opponent.
So it was just the closing seconds of the first round is kind of when you forced the tap?
Yes. Yes, it was close to the end of the first round where I got the submission.
Okay. And talk about having the family there. I know you briefly touched on that, but having your family specifically there for you, how does that play out? Is that more motivation? Is that a little nerve-wracking?
Yeah, definitely having my my family around to support me during fights is it's an energy boost. You know, it's I always have my brother in my corner. You know, my mom rarely comes out to the fight, so you know it felt good to have her there and support. You know, she gets very nervous when I fight, but you know, it was a great experience. Especially, you know, I had my younger nephews there. You know, not at the fight physically, but you know, I saw them before the fight. They were in Las Vegas, so I felt a tremendous amount of support and a lot of people pulling for me to, you know, be successful in getting into the house.
Were you guys watching every fight backstage? How did that work?
You know, they changed up the orders of some of the fights. I originally, you know, I was the first fight, and after I received the cut, I had to go to the hospital to receive stitches. So I you know, I missed a lot of the action due to being at the doctor's office. And then I think I came back towards the last few fights and was able to assess some of the potential opponents and see what everyone was doing.
That can potentially be a little bit of a hindrance then, not getting to see the guys in action, right? I mean, it's not like you get to watch tape after the fact, and that's the first fight getting in the house. It's nice to have an idea what you're working with there, right?
Definitely. You know, I felt that I was at an advantage being in the first fight to see everyone else, but you know, some unforeseen, you know, situation came up, and you know, I had to, you know, work out from there.
How many stitches did you get?
I forgot to count. You know, I wasn't. You know, I was more concerned with you know, going into the tournament with already this disadvantage. You know, because you know it's normal to be a fighter and see a weakness in your opponent and kind of try to, you know, take advantage of that. So I knew that there would, you know, it would be a little bit of a target on my back at that point.
Not to move forward to when you fight, we don't want to give anything away going forward, but you're obviously not the first fight. So how does that work? I mean, mentally, what if they choose you having a cut, or did they just, you know, you were kind of out, like they won't choose you, they will give you that time and respect to let the cut sort of heal?
You know, I knew that that I was vulnerable. You know, I felt vulnerable going into the tournament. So, you know, it definitely was on my mind to try to get as much time to heal as possible, to try to, you know, work, if any way possible, to work, you know, an opponent who could work into my game plan and to try to, you know, heal up, because, you know, although I would go into a second fight and be victorious, if the cut got too bad, I wouldn't be able to continue. So, you know, this was definitely something that changed me mentally and changed my strategy and my approach towards the tournament.
You went right in the house, correct? Right after you guys won the winners, did you guys go right in?
Correct. We went right to the house and, you know, told the family goodbye, and we went on our way to the mission.
Another cool thing to have your family, you know, there, I think. Who were the toughest competitors, in your opinion, that made it in the house? Who was most impressive in victory and even maybe in defeat? You have someone that pops out.
You know, I felt as if, you know, Dylan Andrews had a great fight. You know, he showed that he was well-rounded. Uriah Hall looked great. You know, a lot of great strikes, great kicks. Really fast. You know, guy really had a lot of speed. And you know, Bubba McDaniels looked strong. You know, Josh Salmon looked strong. To really. You know, it's almost unfair to pick, you know, just a couple out of the group, because this season, you know, I felt like they went above and beyond to elevate the caliber of the athletes and to make sure that, you know, everyone there was a legitimate fighter and not, you know, someone there to just, you know, make a good TV show.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, this thing seems like it's up for grabs, and there's so much talent in the house that it'll quite possibly seem like it come down to matchups. Thoughts on Josh Salmon's double punches there, man? What was going on there?
You know, Josh Salmon, he showed himself to be a showman, And you know, he was there to get the attention of the judges, and then, you know, get the attention of the fighters. And you know, obviously he's a very physically strong guy, and he went out there and he imposed his will. And you know, it was good to see him, you know, mix it up a little bit and give us a little bit of excitement in that department.
Were there actually guys that you were familiar with already going into the house, that you knew, that you trained with, competed against per se in jiu-jitsu?
I believe that you know, Jimmy Quinlan was an athlete who I competed against in the Abu Dhabi trials, and also I had heard of Mike Jasper, who yeah, he wasn't able to you know, make it into the house. So there were a couple guys that I was familiar with, some guys that you know, were potential matchups you know, in the past, but for the most part, you know, a lot of the guys were new faces.
Well, Mike goes crazy. He told me last night that he took that fight on 24 hours notice.
Wow, you know, that, you know, at the end of the day, when the opportunity to fight in the Ultimate Fighter comes up, you drop everything. So, you know, I tip my hat to him, and you know, unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it into the house, but he's a very tough guy, and I think he was undefeated up until that point.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back. There were a lot of tears, of course. They're good at getting that. I think that sort of was why they brought the family members as well. You don't strike me as the crying type. Do you see guys crying as a sign of weakness or no?
I definitely don't look at crying as a sign of weakness. It just isn't my forte, you know. So, you know, everyone to each their own, and you know, sometimes situations grab you emotionally, and you're not able to control that. You know, when I fight and the pressures that I put on myself to succeed, they're deep, you know, and what I represent, I hold as a high priority to me. So, like, I don't think of I don't get emotional. You know, I want to win. I have a strong desire to win, and I hate defeat. You know, so you know, the last thing I think about is crying, you know, if something goes wrong.
Was there anything that was left out of the premiere? Do you feel like they did a really good job just capturing what went down?
Yeah, I think that the production, you know, and what they did as far as, you know, capturing everything was pretty much on point. And, you know, it just was phenomenal. You know, all the fights and, you know, how everything was, you know, with the family. I think they did a great job. Was
there a particular coach that you were hoping would choose you, especially considering you train with Anderson here and his past with Chael Sonnen? Were you not too excited or happy to be chosen by him?
Definitely. You know, going into the tournament, I definitely wanted to be on Team Jones, you know, and I thought it would be a very awkward situation to be picked by Chael Sonnen, and then, you know, it turned out that way. But at the end of the day, I couldn't bring any negative thoughts or any negativity that would disrupt my focus on what my job was to do. You know, my job wasn't to have a personal issue with Chael Sonnen. My job was to go in there and to perform and do the best that I could. So I felt that I had to, you know, not prejudge and just go into the situation with no expectation or not holding any grudges against anyone, because I felt that kind of mentality would have only hindered my own performance.
Were you, you know, not going forward again, but were you really looking at this like, this is me, this is for me, I'm looking out for me and nobody else? Or were you interested in the team aspect much?
I definitely went into the tournament, you know, only focused on myself, you know, and, you know, I thought originally that, you know, the whole team aspect of the Ultimate Fighter was almost like a joke, you know, especially considering the fact that, you know, the guy next to you could be potentially your opponent any given day. You know, so the last thing I was thinking was to make a friend or to, you know, get to know anyone. And, you know, sometimes things change.
Does that make it difficult to really train hard and give it your all and without trying to hold things back and be like, oh, I don't want to show too much and things like that against guys that you're potentially going to compete against?
It definitely changes the training environment, knowing that, you know, everyone around is your potential opponent. You know, they're seeing what you eat, they're seeing, you know, what injuries you have. You know, you have no moment to realistically let down your guard, because everything is being assessed, you know, and vice versa. So, you know, going into that situation and really, you know, you have an expectation, but once you're thrown into the pit, you know, all the emotions of what's really going on kind of set in, and you realize, oh shit.
Yep. Were you able to see Gilbert Smith and Luke Barnett's fights again in the house? And if so, what were your initial reactions on their fight? You know, just when you first got announced that they were fighting, what were your reactions?
You know, I saw Luke Barnett's fight to get in the house. I felt that it was a good fight. He showed a lot of different skills. He showed pretty good stand-up, pretty good ground work. He looked like he was a well-rounded fighter. And, you know, I did not see Gilbert Smith's fight. But, you know, at the point that they were matched up, I felt that it was a little bit of a mismatch due to the height of Luke Barnett and the reach. And, you know, also at that point in time, he was a top pick. So I felt like, you know, for our sake, team-wise, you know, it was the best matchup that they could have chosen to potentially put the ball in our court. Yeah,
it was kind of crazy. I mean, taking a little bit of a risk there, pushing your number 4 against their number 1 guy.
Definitely, you know, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Definitely. We will get back to it next week. We're going to do a weekly blog with this man, Kevin Casey, right here at Blackhouse as much as we can. Sometimes we may do it over the internet, but keep an eye out for that at MMAinterviews.tv. Before we sign off, I want to quickly talk a little bit about UFC on Fox this weekend. Great card. You don't want to miss that one. Starting, of course, with your teammate, Mr. Glover Teixeira. I call him the Jolly Giant, man. He's just a happy-go-lucky, kind human being, except when he's in the cage.
Yeah, Glover's a great human being, and also, you know, he's an animal in the cage. You know, he's a guy that, you know, has just now broken to the mainstream, although he's been here for many years behind the scene, and anyone knows who he is. And, you know, for me to be able to step in and help out in some of the camp and also learn some things and also add some tips here and there, you know, with the groundwork, I feel like it's an honor. And, you know, just generally, you know, being out of Blackhouse, it seems like within the last year or so, a lot of guys have been coming here and really, you know, making a lot of changes as far as how tough the camps are around here. You know, we have you know, Machida who has a house here now, so he's here and this is the home base, and you know, Glover's here, and you know, Anderson's not too far away, and you know, it's an amazing training around here now.
Definitely. Well, a prediction for that fight. It's safe to say that one will not likely go to decision against Rampage, but maybe you can give us a prediction on how you see Glover performing out there.
I see Glover winning the fight by a second-round knockout.
So you think standing up, huh?
I think he may knock him out.
Definitely has the power to do it. I am so excited to see that. We also have the flyweight championship between Demetrius Johnson, John Dodson. Have you ever seen much of those guys? And any thoughts on the little fast animals out there?
Yeah, personally, you know, I've always been impressed with Dodson's athletic ability, and you know, he has great movements, and you know, Johnson's a very athletic guy as well. But you know, I'd have to lean towards Dodson on this one.
Wow, just what do you think? Power? What's the X factor?
You know what? He's a very elusive fighter. You know, he seems like he can always come up with a way, you know, there's something unorthodox that will, you know, catch his opponent off guard, and I think he'll repeat that action in this fight.
I'm going to have to go the other way. I'm going to have to let my prediction be known that I think Demetrius Johnson will get the victory, probably by decision, because he is a little more of a point fighter. The other fight that I am extremely excited about, Cowboy Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, couple of stand-up fighters going to go at it. A little bit of bad blood there. What do you think about that one?
You know, I definitely just foresee a war there. You know, both guys are going to fight hard. They're going to kick hard. You know, and it's going to be exciting, I think, from bell to bell. So, you know, I'm not going to give a prediction on that one. I'm just looking at, you know, seeing a great fight.
That's definitely a tough one to call. I think Pettis will use some movement. Cerrone going to stand there, try to trade, use that Muay Thai style. Guys like the Terminator. Benson Henderson once called him the Terminator in one of my interviews with him. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Check out MMAinterviews.tv. We got some cool features up right now. This man, Kevin Casey, will be joining us on a weekly basis. Very excited to do it. Tune in to TUF next week, Tuesday nights on FX.